Today, I'm going to change your life. Well, actually, it's probably a bit of an exaggeration. I might change the way you play Football Manager forever. You see, I'm not much of a tactician on Football Manager. However, I'm very good at learning what works in the game. And I've created tactics that have shockingly won league titles and others that have won Champions Leagues. So here is the challenge. Using 3 of the best and most unique tactics I've created recently, as well as designing a brand new tactic from scratch, I'm attempting with these 4 tactics to win 5 different trophies. Well, that doesn't mean we could just make ourselves Manchester City and win 5 in one season. No, we are restricting ourselves from using the top 3 clubs in any league. So let's get this challenge underway. Hopefully you learn some new things about some tactics that I think people will really benefit from, as well as sometimes the source in which I learned it from, which might help you. And let's have some fun and win some trophies. Now, the first tactic that we're going to try out today is this, and it's the tactic that we use in the Dortmund rebuild where we had to win the Champions League. And as you can see, we actually won the treble. I think this was in like the 6th or 7th season, something like that. But we had a very successful time, and as you can see, it doesn't look like your traditional tactic, and that is going to be the main crux of this video. None of these tactics are your standard 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3, because I get bored of those tactics. We're very far in the game cycle now. I'm sure you're bored of those tactics too. So a lot of these tactics, hopefully we're going to learn something today about how the match engine works when you're not using traditional tactics. Like this one. It is a 4-1-2-3. There are 3 centre forwards, there are 2 attacking midfielders, but just 1 sole centre midfielder. And people will think, well, how the hell does that work? I'm going to try and explain it to you. Now, I'm going to put all of these tactics at the top of the description so you can have a play around, but let me try and explain so you kind of understand the way I understand how they actually work and why they work. So, traditionally, I've seen this tactic used on many different FMs from a lot of my friends who create content, and I used to think that you'd have to put this on inverted wing back on support so that they would sit inside alongside the centre defensive midfielder so that there was extra support. However, that then gets rid of your width, and when you're attacking, you then don't have the option out wide and it's too clustered in the middle and you tend to lose the ball more. And actually, you concede more chances than what you would just as a standard back 4 as you would usually see it. So although we had a very attacking tactic with only a deep line playmaker on defend in there with the 2 centre backs, we had the 3rd highest clean sheets in the league this season, only behind Stuttgart, as well as we had 122 goals. Like, that's nearly 50 higher than Leipzig in 34 games, and the most shots, like nearly 300 more than Leipzig. That's insane. Fewest shots against, we were 2nd in the fewest shots against us, despite having such an attacking tactic. All right, it was nowhere near Bayern Munich's, but they're nowhere near us on this. Like, we nearly 70 odd goals more than them. Like, they're nowhere near us whatsoever in terms of shots or goals. The fewest conceded were down in 5th. And I think the reason why that tactic is, yes, you've only got a deep line playmaker there, and he is taking risks. And to be fair, you do need a good player there. Like, João Neves is a cracking centre mid. We haven't got, like, some just random centre mid who, you know, he's the star man in our side, because we need somebody who is good with the ball and without. He works so hard and he is so aggressive with good physicals. He can get around the pitch if there is a breakaway. But what I think the reason why this works is because out of possession, it's much higher defensively, and we're stepping up and we're getting stuck in. There's not really a lot of room in the midfield there. And you want to see the instructions. Maybe it explains it a little bit more, but the wingers are solely focused on going down the wing. And that's even in the instructions as well. They're overlapping on each side. In transition, it's just a standard gegenpress. And to be honest, I didn't really change a lot from the very beginning. I just helped with this tactic, getting the players that I felt was better in these player roles. Attacking midfield, I didn't even have any instructions on. What I would probably say is stick that on defensive left, which I probably should have done, because on the other side, I've got mark specific position, defensive right. So that actually accounts for those two, and then you've got these three players here. If you really wanted to set the centre forward up to mark the DM, and you're kind of just really cancelling out any teams that want to play out the back, because you're just pressing them so high and not allowing them to have any time on the ball. That's why I think this tactic works so well. So I'm going to go and try this tactic in the Belgian league. Genk's fourth is a good option. Ghent is predicted to finish first. Club Brugge is second. Anderlecht sixth. Let's go with Anderlecht. I think they've got quite a lot of strikers as well, which kind of suits what we're looking for, to be honest. Yeah, so they've got a few different strikers that can play there. We'll go with Anderlecht and see how it plays. So we've got to aim for 5 trophies in 4 different simulations using 4 different tactics. So ideally, we need to get at least 1 trophy for every single team we do. Now, Anderlecht, I don't think, are in any type of European football. They didn't have a great season last season, so they've got the league and the Belgian Cup to go for. But as I mentioned, I think this team kind of suits this tactic. There's a lot of attacking players in there, and it's kind of where they're really strong. So hopefully, after 1 season, we can bag at least 1 trophy. Well, there's definitely 1 trophy already in the cabinet. This Anderlecht team absolutely slapped the league. Now, the league table, as we know, goes into 2 different sections here in Belgium. So it goes into a second phase or a championship group, and we destroyed it, to be honest. So it ended 10 points in the clear as champions ahead of Standard Liège. A lot of the teams that I expected to be up here weren't. Like, Standard Liège is normally in the relegation side, because in the relegation group, I mean, the second phase has got Ghent and Genk. They're usually up there as well, but no. In the championship group, we had these teams in front of us here. We did so well. We did unbelievably well. And we can see by the profile, Kasper Dolberg scored 32 goals this season. He also had the highest average rating. We had a lot of average ratings in there. We were absolutely flying. So statistically, we scored the most goals. We had the most possession, which I didn't expect to see that at all. Now, clean sheets wise, we definitely conceded a lot of goals. So you can see here, our clean sheets, we were joint 8th in terms of clean sheets, which isn't amazing. And viewers conceded, we were the same. We were down in 11th. So although we scored the most by a lot as well, and we had the most shots, etc., most possession, we didn't defensively do as well as possibly what we could have, like we did with the Dortmund team. Oh, we were so close to getting a second. In the final, we lose to Antwerp of the Crocky Cup. That's a hard one to take, but hey, look at that. That looks great. This team's done fantastically well. We start off with a bang, and of course, we start off with a trophy. Yes, a good start indeed. That's 1 trophy down out of the 5 we have to win. The second tactic that we're going to be trialing with is the 4-4-2 DMs with Como, and of course, this is an unbelievable tactic. This is like 8 seasons in and where we are champions, but we actually won the league the very first season using this tactic in the very first season that Como got promoted. We didn't have much success after, but we were Como, like, come on. We even went on and won the Champions League with this team. As you can see there, past winners Como. We beat Paris Saint-Germain in the final. That was fantastic. So we've done really well with this tactic. And again, it's one of those tactics that I kind of have flirted around with for many years on Football Manager. And I've even like held shapes where it's been like this. I think you might remember one of my famous tactics was like this, and these two were defensive wingers. That worked really well, and it still does work really well. And to be honest, there's a lot of videos that we've been watching recently, which has made me think, maybe I should try that tactic again. There's a guy who I've been really enjoying watching called the Deep Line Playmaker. You might have seen him on your video feeds if you've been watching a lot of like Football Manager tactics. The guy's fantastic at explaining stuff, and he's just so cool and chilled out. Like, I want to go for a beer with this bloke, but some of the stuff that on this video here where he was explaining, I mean, look at his beard as well, like worth a subscribe right away. He was talking about defensive wingers quite a lot, and it reminded me of when I used to use defensive wingers on that tactic, how good they really were. So going back to this, yes, we're not using defensive wingers, but hey, maybe that's what we should use in the tactic that we actually create in a second for our own for this challenge. But in this one, to explain it, it's quite simple. It's a 4-4-2, and the reason why it works so well is this is the starting position, which means they are so far down the pitch that they can stop the attacking wingers of your opposition. even though they got get further forward, roam position, because yes, I've watched that Stigger video where he uses the roam from positions, and I just thought that looked crazy. So we've integrated some of that in there too. Deep line playmaker and a volante on attack, the volante on support. The volante on support gets further forward, so it allows you to have a kind of like a center attacking midfielder while you're on the attack. So your wingers are getting forward. You got almost a player that's in that center attacking midfield spot, even though his starting position is there. It just works really well. You've also got two very attacking fullbacks in front of your back four, or your three that you've got, the two center defenders and the defending goalkeeper, just to keep that solidifying defense. And it's on a balanced mentality. We're not doing anything too crazy in this. We're focusing the play, but we're underlapping, and it doesn't really work with the wingbacks on attack. But I think because these are so far back, the underlaps, they take turns. It's really weird watching it in the game, but I turned it on and off, and it just seems to just do really well. We're counter-attacking, we're gegen pressing, all of that good stuff, and out of possession, again, we're much higher. We're stepping up. We're actually inviting crosses because of the way we are, and we're getting stuck in. So for this tactic, let's again go to a bit of a unique country. Let's go to Turkey, and Trabzonspor's 4. That should be okay, because I know obviously Fenerbahce, Galatasaray is 1 and 2, Besiktas probably 3. So yeah, let's go with Trabzonspor. I don't really know much about Trabzonspor in terms of how they play this season. It kind of, yeah, all right, so a 4-2-3-1. We could probably try and transfer that into a 4-4-2, but let's have a look at it. Yeah, so as you kind of load it in and look at their players that they've got for it, they do have some decent players for it. So the league, probably not. They don't, again, have any European football, so I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot here because there's only 2 trophies to go for, and we need one of these teams to win 2 trophies. But let's try it with Trabzonspor. Well, we were predicted to finish in 4th, and that is exactly where we finished. We were some way off of top of the league as well, but I mean, it's not too bad. I know they have a lot of injuries at the start of the season as well, which could have caused a bit of trouble for us. However, we have won the Turkish Cup, and we've beaten Samsunspor in the final. So did we knock anybody out on the way? It looks like all the big teams were eliminated early. Wow, so Fenerbahce was eliminated in the quarterfinal. Still can't see Galatasaray. In the 6th round, we knocked out Besiktas. 4-0, by the way, which is huge. Galatasaray is still not there. So when did they get eliminated? It must be really early on into this. There we go. They were knocked out in the 5th round. But that doesn't matter. We've gone through and won in the final 2-0. This tactic is one of those style of tactics which probably does suit an underdog, if I'm honest. Like, it really does suit underdogs. And some of the best players not even there. Like, Gomez is not even in the side, as you can see there. He's out on loan somewhere, so somebody else would have played. And to be honest, there's not a complete forward role in there. I know when I played as Como, when we had Andrea Belotti in that first couple of seasons, I was using pressing forward on support instead of the complete forward to make it a bit more defensively, and that's what he suited. That might be another option. So possibly defensive wingers, possibly pressing forward is the 2 changes that you would want to make. The other side of it, especially these 2 in the middle, I would keep it exactly how it is. A deep line playmaker, volante on support. Maybe you want to move that to a poacher if you're finding you're not having enough chances or people in the box when you've got wingers. Because these I used to change to either winger or inverted winger, depending on who it was. Didn't really change too much in terms of the balance. But defensive winger just gives you better options if you've got that style of play. This is a really good tactic. Again, the links for it will be down in the comments section, but that's 2 trophies from 2. Now, the third tactic might be my favorite out of the 3 that we've showcased so far. We got this one, and then we're going to build one to see if we can win those final 3 trophies in just the 2 simulations that we're going to be doing. But this was with Ajax. Now, everybody will be like, well, Ajax is a really good team, but when you got final on PSV at the very beginning, and we were doing this as a youth to gold, so second season, we weren't allowed to use players 30 or above, and then we were only allowed to sign teenagers. We did very well with that. I mean, we found like this hidden gem who was unbelievable on a free transfer 3 seasons into the game. So, I mean, he scored like 29 goals at one point. So, shadow striker-wise, we were set. But what I love about this is, 1, it looks very different, but 2, we were using wingers because, again, this is where they start from, and yet we'll give them attacking instructions to power forward, and we were using a 3 at the back formation, which I've rarely used in this year's Football Manager, and I've struggled with it in the past as well. So they stay wider. The 2 on the outside stay wider to give you width in terms of defense, but these guys on the wings also help you defensively because their starting position is deeper than what it would be in the attacking one. And as you can see there, the instructions are fairly simple. They get forward and they help and support. The goalkeeper, no instructions, just a defender on super keeper, same as the middleman here. The defensive midfielders just tell him to tackle harder. This guy, the box to box, is a tackle harder, but Rome is obviously on box to box. He goes back and forward. He really does help. The attacking midfielder, roam from positions, moves into channels. Same as the shadow striker, we're just asking them to roam from position a little bit. And the poacher is because we want that one focal point in the attack to always be there, so that basically these four on the wings and in the middle at the top there can help supply. They've all got roaming features in terms of their player roles, so that they can be a very fluid in attack, and you can see it in the goals that there's been scored. But at least you've got one person who is in there in the middle to score the goals. Now, I've got it on positive mentality. You can play around with that. And mentality, to be honest, from what I've seen recently from my friend Stinger, it doesn't play too much of a big part. It just kind of helps, actually, in different ways when you're using instructions to what you can balance things out for. Fairly wide pass into space. We're playing through the middle, higher tempo but shorter. We're actually working the ball into the box, and it's something that I haven't really used in this Foot Manager a lot. Counter press and counter, taking short kicks. Opposition, we're only higher defensively, but the press is high because there's so many players in the midfield. We don't need it to be pressed up so high. Plus, we've only got the three at the back there. I don't want to go too high and then cause trouble for us down the wings from like counter attacks. No other instructions though. Nice and easy, nice and simple. That's how this one sets up, and it's a beauty. And you know what? With this tactic, I've always had a team in mind that I think might do quite well with it, and that is Tottenham. I don't know why. I just feel like this tactic would really suit Tottenham. They got the high press inside, a lot of work rate in there. They don't necessarily have like an out-and-out striker, but there's a few players that can actually go into that role, such as Heung-min Son. And I like the players around that attacking midfield slot for this tactic to work with Tottenham Hotspur. So let's give that a try. So yeah, with the Ajax one loaded in, if we go best pick 11, it does put Sonny Boy up there up top. My dad would be happy with that. I'm not too keen on the midfield, but Porro at right wing, the right wing back / winger is solid. Like, you could not ask for a better player, I think, in the game to put in a winger or defensive winger role than Pedro Porro, because when he goes forward, he has unbelievable crossing, great physical attributes, but defensively, he's still solid too, with like 14 for tackling. So I think that is actually a perfect role for him. They've got enough defenders in there, but I think if I was to be buying players for this, I would be buying a centre-back, definitely, to go in there. I think that's maybe the one weakness that they have. Midfield, a lot of options in there. Let's roll with this Ajax tactic and see what happens. Right, so we don't add the Premier League to our 2 trophies that we've got so far. 80 points, but we have over-exceeded because I think season preview put Tottenham down in 6th place. Yeah, so we've done quite well, actually. We're up there in 3rd, 80 points, just 2 behind 2nd place Liverpool. This was always going to be the most difficult league to manage to win something in, but I'm still quite happy with how that's played out. Heung-min Son got 18 goals. Kulusevski seems to have had a good season as well. You got a few player of the matches, he's there 5th for the highest average rating. In terms of the statistics, we were the 2nd most goals scored behind Manchester City, who obviously going to dominate quite a lot of the things. We also had 60% possession across the season. Again, really good. Fewest conceded, we're down in 4th. Most clean sheets, were down in 6th. So not too much of an overperformance there. We're still only 2 trophies down. However, Tottenham are entered in way more trophies, which was kind of my plan. Yes, got one in. Again, no European football. I've screwed myself again now. I don't know why I thought they were playing European football. But FA Cup winners, I will take that. Oh, it's a big game as well. Extra time against Liverpool. 93rd minute equaliser from Kulusevski and a 96th minute penalty to win the whole bloody thing. That's unbelievable. So I'm really happy with that. That's good. That's another trophy. 3 trophies down out of 3 simulations, which means the tactic we need to build has to be unbelievable. But again, let's look at it and we'll go best 11 pick throughout the season. You can kind of see the same similar links. It did seem that he played Lo Celso quite a lot on that right-hand side. Form-wise, he played a fair amount of games on that attacking side. So he got 7 assists. It's not too bad. I love the idea of Paro going down there, though. Did he get a lot of assists? He got a lot of goals. He got more goals than assists, but he had a good average rate, which is fair enough. I think if you were to do this as a save, use this team, you would buy, you know, 1 defender, a left winger, or you just use a Dogi at left mid and try and, you know, develop him into a quality player. Then by season 2 or 3, you're looking at a main striker. You wouldn't really have to do much after that, and you'd probably start seeing a lot of trophies come your way. I absolutely love this tactic, so I'm happy to share this with you guys because it's just very different. Speaking of which, very different. I've never really built a tactic for a video like this with challenging things happening and having so much on the line. I need to win 2 trophies, so let's pick a team. All right, I fancy going to the Italian league on this, so I've got this one loaded here. Let's go Italian league and see. So Atalanta's an interesting one. They finished in 7th place. Fiorentina in 8th. I do like Fiorentina. I'm a big fan of them. I'd imagine, obviously, Milan, everything's top 3. Napoli's actually in a top 4 position. Roma in 6th. I'm going to go Fiorentina. This is a bit of a risk because they are in 8th place. However, they do have Europa Conference League football. That could be a competition that we could win quite nicely with Fiorentina. So let's pin our hopes on doing 2 of the cups out of there. I forgot they got the likes of Belotti. They got Nico Gonzalez, who's kind of like their star man here. However, from what I'm thinking, not really going to go for a position that he is going to enjoy too much. So we'll create a tactic. Let's stick with a gegenpress to begin with. I think if we kind of just look to build a shape. So I wanted to use defensive wingers. I wanted to showcase what I've learned from that defensive winger scenario. So I don't want to go to a standard 4-4-2. We've already done like a 4-4-2 style. So let's go 3 up top. We'll bring this guy in the midfield here. But what I'm thinking is the tactic that I used to do where we used to have 2 players here, which is very similar shape. We used to have inverted wing backs on attack, and they used to bomb forward and kind of like help support as attacking midfield options when you have the ball. When they don't have the ball, hopefully they can track back, but sometimes you would get caught out. So I mean, let's just hope that that's not really the case. I don't really want all of these guys to be too attacking. Just have these 2 here. I think I kind of like the idea of like a deep line playmaker on defend. He just stays there. So we wanted defensive wingers, but not on defend. Let's keep him on support and showcase that a little bit more. Now, pressing forwards, either side. Again, from watching my friend, or somebody I just enjoy watching, Deep Line Playmaker, he had pressing forwards on support and just showcase how good they really were in that pressing video. So I'm going to try that right now. And then up front alongside with them, have an advanced forward, a focal point of our attack. So we've got 2 supporting players either side, supporting defensive wingers, but the 2 attacking inverted wing backs can obviously try and help as well. Now, I mentioned about using mentalities. I'm going to try and use a defensive mentality. Now, if you've seen my friend Stinger's videos recently, he's done a lot on very defensive stuff, and it's kind of worked quite well to the point where I'm like, wow, I can't believe it actually works. So I'm going to see if what I've learned from his videos of using defensive mentality, we can counteract that and basically, whereas we have the advanced forward on attack, it's still a positive mentality. That just, it balances it out. So although we got defensive here, our defensive wingers are on support. It's now a balanced mentality. So they're kind of doing both. They're focusing on defending and attacking. Let's look at in possession then. I kind of want them to stay fairly narrow. I don't really want to pass into space too much. I don't want to like risk losing the ball too much. But the underlaps, they're already there because the inverted wing back. So that's absolutely fine. I'm actually kind of happy to play slightly more direct with a higher tempo. I'm actually fine with that. Let's go with lower crosses, and let's go with run at defense. This will be pretty easy. I'll press counter press anyway, gegenpress, whatever it is. I'm going to go distribute the ball quickly. Let's go all to fullbacks and roll it out. Just nice and simple stuff there. For the final one, though, let's go much higher defensively. Let's squash the gap between our attacking 3, our midfield, and our defense, and just really hammer that home. The rest of it, I'm kind of happy with. Do I stick that on? I'm going to get stuck in on. Yeah, I'm going to stick that in, and then I'm going to do a couple of player instructions and just kind of mess around with it. So I'm thinking we actually mark specific positions here. I think that could be a good choice to do because they're going to spread themselves wide and press either way anyway. We might as well utilize that. Actually, I think what I'm going to do, instead of having them mark specific position, let's just tell them to stay wider. Stay wider and then roam from position and allow them to just kind of choose where they go and press instead of restricting them to, hey, you gotta kind of mark that one guy. Allow them to kind of sit in the gap in between and then also sit in like here where the DMs might be. So that allows them obviously to do, you know, instead of just pressing one guy, pressing an opportunity to actually press 3 players in one if they have a DM with a centre-back and a right-back and a centre-back and left-back. So let's go tackle harder on the advanced forward. I don't want to give too many instructions for this, but we want them to be more attacking. So let's get them further forward. We want them to cross from the byline because that also, again, encourages them to go further forward instead of sitting too deep. And again, to roam because the roaming at the minute, I'm just finding it just so much fun to watch them score goals like that. I don't want to tell them to go inside or cut inside. Let's allow them to roam and make the decisions themselves. Now, the deep line playmaker, I don't want to give them too difficult instructions. I think maybe just take more risks when they have the ball. They've got a couple of really good CDMs who are good on the ball, such as Arta, who good passer of the ball, good composure, etc. So that's absolutely fine. The centre-backs, I like them to dribble more and tackle harder. So when they're dribbling more, they've got good centre-backs, actually, have Fiorentina. You can see Carter and Milenkovic is 2 of my favourites that I always look at when I need ball-playing defenders. They've got good ball-playing defenders and, he's a bit of an animal, isn't he? Like 6'5". He's solid. So let's tell him to do that. The inverted wing-back, they kind of already selected how you want them to play. So I think just tackle harder is all we really need to focus on. I think that's just mainly the only thing. The goalkeeper, we're just going to leave him by himself. So this is the tactic we're set up to do. We got 2 trophies to win. But again, we are in the Europa Conference League qualification, 4th qualifying path. And we got the Coppa Italia. Apparently we got the Super Cup too. I'm not counting that, but we will enter it. Can we win the Serie A though? That's a huge one. Now this tactic worked weirdly very well because as you can see, we got the ball here on the halfway line and our team are very spread out. We've got a clump over here, 3 on this side, including a centre-back who's dropped even deeper. If we get caught with the ball now, we're kind of screwed. But this has come from basically our goalkeeper spreading the ball out wide. And look what happens next. We go play in the inside, and we've got our 3 strikers now sat being marked by 3 players, and Nzola has kind of peeled away. But when that ball is played to Beltran, we could go to the outside and go to Nico Gonzalez, who is again going to be an overload. We could even go back to Coyote, who is the inverted wingback on attack, now pressing forward to fill this gap here. And straight away we have taken out with that one pass about 6 or 7 players from Cagliari's defense. And already we're causing them a lot of trouble here. We're 3-0 up at this point. Beltran actually plays a ball I wouldn't have to Nzola, and we score from it anyway. This is another goal from a 4-2 win against Inter Milan, who have the best team in the league, and a game that we absolutely dominated. 20 shots to their 5, 10 on target to their 2. XG off the charts. Off target, clear-cut chances. The only thing they really had on us was possession, but that matters nothing. It's this that is the main thing. And we had 2 goals from a fullback who came on as a substitute, and he won player of the match. And look at this second one. This is exactly why we enjoy playing this formation with the 2 inverted wingbacks on attack, because one of them is currently still down the wing. You would think because he's inverted, he's only going to go central, but he doesn't. He is hugging the byline there, still creating attack. But over here we have the other one, who when we have the ball isn't out here where he would be completely useless. No, he's found space. He's found space on the edge of the area, and if we can be found, we have a golden opportunity here. Now, goes back to Arthur, our deep line playmaker. Parizzi's in space, and he knocks one into the bottom corner. Now, I didn't realise how good this tactic would actually do. I thought it would still be quite strong because I based it on quite a lot of the things that I knew would work, but I've never really chucked them all together. I'm really shocked at how well this did, because somehow this tactic won the Serie A with Fiorentina. I'm kind of baffled. We've done really well by 10 points, by the way. 10 points. I mean, some of the wins that we were having were mental. We lost 6 games across the season. Majority of the time is against teams that you'd expect Fiorentina to lose against, including Udinese and Bologna, who are around about the same type of team as Fiorentina. But, I mean, a lot of teams underachieved. Roma finishing 13th, 11th place for Juve, so I don't really know what happened there, and 8th place for Napoli. But we were just so good. We only drew 2 games, which means we won 30 out of 38. That's unbelievable, really. 92 points. Statistically, we scored the most goals of 101. We had the most shots across the season. Possession, we were nowhere near it, but we didn't need to be. We were halfway through that. I'm absolutely fine with that. Fewest conceded, we're down in 7th place. The most clean sheets, we're down in 6th. But I think what we can see from that is we were just winning games comfortably. We really were. And not only that, we needed 2 trophies this season, and we got 2. We completed the challenge because we also won that Europa Conference League, which is exactly what I was targeting us to do. We beat Eintracht Frankfurt 4-2 in the final, and we played really well as well. So the group stage, we can see we won 6 out of 6. Great goal difference as well, plus 22. Go straight into the round of 16, where we knocked out Sparta Prague. Quarter-final knocking out Lille in France. It's a difficult game. If I'm on a semi-final, won it just on penalties against Sporting, which again is a difficult tie to win, but it was 6-6 on aggregate to win that final. It's an unbelievable achievement with a decent Fiorentina side that definitely has some weaknesses. No signings made, and I'll show you that. No signings made whatsoever. These are all the signings that were already there. I also just turned off transfers for the first transfer window, so other teams only sign players in January should they wish to do so. But this was just a simulated season, and we just did incredibly well. Now, if I go to the data hub, you can see here through the team analysis report. There we go. Formation 4-3-3 was used 100% of the time. So 4-3-3 DM, which is what this tactic is, as you can see down here. 100% of the time we started that, and it created plus 61 clear-cut chances. Against the formations that we played, a lot of the time was a 4-2-3-1, and you can see we did really well against majority of them when we did play against it. So I'm really happy with this. I'm so chuffed with how this played out, and maybe this is what this type of video is going to show you, that you can use roles like the defensive winger, because if you look at how it is described, it aims to press the opposing fullbacks. People think it's supposed to be defensive winger. Oh, it means they're going to be sat basically where my wingbacks are. Not at all. Win the ball back high up the pitch and either hold on to it for the rest of the team, drive to the byline, or get a quick cross in through ball for the forwards. Isn't that exactly what you want your wingers to do? So I would say stop using wingers, start using defensive wingers. They are so powerful in this game that I am so shocked nobody else uses them. So thank you to Deep Line Playmaker for explaining something that I had forgotten about, because I have not been using it in this iteration of Football Manager, and in previous seasons I was using it with a very similar formation, which, just to remind you, was kind of like that. But we changed it obviously now to the pressing forwards and using it with a more attacking style of play, with stay wider, remember, and roam. Stay wider and roam. That worked very well for our pressing forwards, and this side just obliterated the Serie A. I'm so happy with that. And that, of course, is the challenge completed. 5 trophies from 5-1 with 4 different teams. So there you have it. As I mentioned, all of those tactics, the 4 tactics, will be down at the top of the description. Massive thank you to the likes of Stinger and Deep Line Playmaker, who I haven't really asked for permission to do these types of videos for, but their videos alone have helped my understanding of the game, and I hope this video helps you understand the game a little bit more in terms of different positions and player roles, and maybe you're going to go check them out and learn even more just like I have done. So get your hands on those tactics, have a play around with them. Let me know how you get on in the comments, and if you enjoy videos just like this, please make sure you're subscribed, and why not check out this video right now, because Surprise Shirt sent me a shirt in France, and I used a wheel to see if we can win the Champions League with them.